Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. We are here to do the Friday Night SmackDown recap, which took place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia on June 27th, 2025. Lots to talk about here on the essentially what was treated as the pre show of Night of Champions. So let's go ahead and get right into it. During the event, also, we had kind of talked about this off air. Um, and we'd seen rumors of it, and then I'd seen rumors of it not happening. But Michael Cole did announce that this is the last long SmackDown, so to speak. After this week, SmackDown will revert back to 2 hours. So a bit of a mixed bag for me personally. I was a fan of the longer shows because it helped get more talent in, and WWE definitely has a lot of talent. So it'll be interesting to see, like matches tonight that went long probably wouldn't be able to have that time going forward. So I am a bit disappointed. I think at least not putting a limit on it, strictly 2 hours. 4 hours is a big difference from 5 hours in the grand scheme of things on a weekly basis. So yeah, we'll wait and see. And curious to field your opinion on that one as well, KP, when you get the chance. We kick off the show with Cody Rhodes, who makes his way down to the ring, and this seems to be a new trend that before he's able to get anything out, he is interrupted by whomever he's talking about or going to be talking to. Randy Orton comes to the ring and congratulates him on the barn burner with Jey Uso in the semifinals, and then I have no idea what happens after that. KP, again, if this is something that went different for you, let me know. But we got a pardon the interruption message, and the cameras came back on, and it was Michael Cole and Wade Barrett apologizing for the interruption. So, in the grand scheme of things, I'm okay with this because I don't think they were going to say anything that was going to light the world on fire, anyways. So we know we have a match against Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. What else do you need to say? Before the day before, anyway. So on with the next, JC Mateo and Jimmy Uso. It feels like we've gotten this match again before, and it was hard to get invested in this one for me personally because of the commercials and the number of times it feels like we've seen this already. JC gets to win here with his super underwhelming finisher, in my opinion. And after the match, we see Solo offering Jimmy a spot back with the family, but of course, Jimmy slaps Solo in the face, and before Solo can retaliate, Jacob comes in and fends them off. So yeah, continuing to set the new bloodline and Solo trying to recruit bit. Jimmy's still not taking the bait. Backstage, we see DIY clearly upset with the Wyatt Six were given a title opportunity and is trying to motivate the rest of the tag division. Nick Aldis comes in and says that he is the best guy to inform. And then he decides that Andrade is to find a partner to face DIY to handle this issue. So more on that later in the night. We then get our first of three title matches, which features Julia and Zelina Vega for the women's U.S. title. This is probably the best match that I've seen, I think, from both of these ladies. On main for Julia, and Zelina definitely for a while. I'm sure she's had, quite a bit of matches on main roster, but it's probably the best match I can recall, at least in recent history. But yeah, no disrespect to Zelina here. But Julia getting the win, I think, was the right decision. To me, felt like Zelina was only ever going to be a transitional champion for better or worse. But yeah, given their success in NXT, it's crazy to think that Julia got a title on main before Roxanne and Stephanie Vaquer. But yeah, regardless, Julia hasn't gotten quite over on main, I don't feel like. But I firmly believe her winning this title will help her do so and give her some more opportunities to shine. I think she's one of those competitors that in ring is gonna speak for herself. Obviously, it has a little bit of that language barrier, but as we've seen with people like Asuka and Ia, that should not be an issue. There are ways to get over still. We then have an interview of Asuka and Jade by Wade Barrett. While we didn't get any technical difficulties during this exchange, nothing crazy happened here either until Naomi interrupts and states that she's the one in control and everyone around her should proceed with caution. So lots going on here, KP. Care to give your thoughts on the two King and Queen of the Ring promos, as well as the Jimmy Uso JC Mateo match, and of course our new U.S. champion in Julia.
Well, I wish I could give a bit more information on Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton's segment, but I can't. I was hoping that you would maybe be able to shed some light on that situation. The same thing happened to us over here watching in the UK. So, yeah, it was a point where literally, like you said, Randy was in the ring. He just started speaking, maybe got a couple of sentences out, and then suddenly it just all completely went down, and we didn't see anything after that. Next thing we saw was Michael Cole and Wade Barrett on commentary, basically apologizing for all the technical issues. So yeah, I still don't know what happened. Like you said, probably didn't set the world alight. Probably just a conversation between the two, building up to their match for King of the Ring. Don't see anything else really that would have come from that. So yeah, I have absolutely no clue what happened, and probably never will. Wish I could give a bit more. But yeah, probably didn't miss too much. The segment after that, yeah, I mean, JC Mateo, I'm struggling to really get behind him so much. Like, not that like I'm trying to compare him to the likes of Jacob Fatu, because I think that he's he's in his own class. I think Fatu, but I think Mateo, each time I see him in the ring, like I think he's all right, but I'm not really sort of like sold too much on him. The match against Jimmy Uso is fine, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like we're going around the circles a little bit with Mateo. I don't think there's really any clear direction. Obviously, being one of Solo's henchmen, I feel like there's not really much creativity for him to sort of like excel in this role, which is why I sort of go back to Jacob Fatu last year, where he was in a similar position, but he shone instantly. Like, he's a special talent. But yeah, I don't know. Like, the match was fine. Obviously, you had Jimmy Uso coming on in. No, sorry. You had Jacob Fatu coming in afterwards, or even the odds to like help out Jimmy Uso. Yeah, the dynamic was there. It was fine. It was okay. But I don't know. I just it didn't really change anything. Like, you could remove the segment going into Night of Champions. I don't think anything would be any different. So yeah, I don't know. That's just my personal take on it. And it was fine, but it didn't really sort of like alter anything specifically. The following segment, though, absolutely fantastic, brilliant. I'm elated that they actually went through with the change of the champion here, with Julia defeating Zelina Vega. I wasn't really sold on Zelina as the United States champion. I think for me that just didn't really work out. The whole thing with the Secret Service, I thought, went on for far too long. Then obviously the first thing that happens after that is she goes one-on-one with Julia and loses. I mean, not to sort of discredit Zelina Vega and, you know, how much I meant to her and her work that she put in to get the championship, but I just think that when she got the gold, I think from then on it was a sinking ship, and hopefully Julia's going to be the one to steer it into a better direction. But yeah, I think the match was, you know, it was good, it was fine, it did what it needed to do. We got that new champion crowned, and now we obviously, you know, can sort of use this as Julia's chance to see what she can do on the main roster. We've seen what she's like on NXT. You know, during her brief time there, wasn't really very long. But yeah, she's going to bring some elevation to this United States Championship picture, which possibly could bring it up to the levels of what we see on Raw with the Women's Intercontinental Championship. So yeah, I'm very happy that Julie is now the champion, and I guess we'll see what goes on from here. See what our next feud's going to be. Yeah, sticking with the women, we then had that Queen of the Ring segment. I think this was fine. Like, it was a chance for these two women to basically just get in each other's faces and you know, to have a bit of a conversation. Yeah, there wasn't really too much to really go with. Obviously, Naomi getting involved and you know, causing a distraction. Jade, obviously, you know, with hatred in her eyes, want to take her out, and then Asuka gets the last laugh by taking out Jade Cargill at the end. You know, having just been pushed aside by Jade to get to Naomi. Yeah, I mean, it's two women who had respect for each other, and the one way to sort of like to make something more of that is to obviously include Naomi, who Jade hates so much. So yeah, I think it was quite a smart way of doing things here, just to raise a little bit of heat going into the Queen of the Ring final. And yeah, yeah, I thought it was fine. It was what it needed to be done, and see what happens at the Queen of the Ring final then.
Yeah, so you mentioned it, I think, in a great way, and reminded me. I think Zelina Vega's issues with the U.S. title, she was kind of put behind the eight ball because she was the one to take the title from Chelsea Green, who, although a heel, was very much being treated as a face. So for her to walk into that, you know, take that title from her and then have to try to match an entertainment value that Chelsea Green provides, and or do something in the ring that Chelsea can't do, and unfortunately, she just doesn't do either. So I'm not mad at Zelina winning the title, but I think obviously, yeah, just wrong place, wrong time. I think she deserves, she's put in a lot of work for the company and deserves something. But I just don't think that was the best opportunity for her. So maybe she'll get another one down the line. We'll have to wait and see. We then move on to the next match of the night, which, as mentioned earlier, was DIY and Andrade to find a tag team partner. The tag team partner ends up being Rey Fenix. And as I mentioned with the shortened time period with SmackDown, the 3 to 2 hours, I think this is a match that would really be affected by that because this one got a ton of time, and rightfully so. The teams in the ring very much know what they're doing and do not disappoint often. Obviously, the makeshift team of Rey Fenix and Andrade, but Andrade to me is the kind of guy that can team with anyone and make it work, and this was no exception. Obviously, Rey Fenix is no slouch in that department either, having plenty of tag team experience. So, yeah, Andrade and Rey, I think, have great chemistry and could go down that route if they wanted to. I think they're really trying to avoid the tag teams with Rey and Penta, but maybe this is something for them to do in the meantime. So perhaps this isn't the last time we'll see them together. But the question does have to be asked, the elephant in the room. If they are going to be a tag team, where the hell do they fit in this tag division in SmackDown? Because goodness gracious, it's already, and this is why I think a draft, although typically I'm not a fan of them because they don't mean much. I think in respects to the tag division, we need a draft because there are so many teams on SmackDown and Raw just doesn't have hardly anything. So I think that is something that could be looked into. And yeah, my biggest takeaway here being that I am upset at the fact of SmackDown being reduced because I don't think we'll get matches like these just kind of out of random, really. But yeah, and then the technical difficulties include, I'm not sure if you have this issue as well, KP, but we got like a Jurassic Park teaser trailer. Just the sound for it during the match, just like watching a match and listening to Jurassic Park footage. So that was yeah, I think I at least at my end had a lot of these kind of issues like cutting out and sound and random gray screens for like a split second, but they were still there. Not a great presentation. I don't know what was going on, but definitely took away a little bit. We then get a segment of Ron Killings coming down to the ring, and he's taken out by Aleister Black, basically having enough of him being involved in his business. And that was kind of what it was. I don't know if this is Ron Killings officially moving on from Cena or what, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. We then get a tag match, which features the second title of the night being defended, Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy of Wyatt Six versus the Street Profits. All teams end up residing at ringside. So that was interesting and a cool scene, I thought. But yeah, everyone at ringside ends up putting in ending the match because a brawl ensues. We don't really get much of a match here, and but the ending having been, the takeaway being that the Street Profits end up standing tall, and the Wyatt Six kind of made the biggest statement, I guess we could say, having to take the rest of the tag division to take care of them. So I think we've seen this is definitely not the end of the Street Profits and Wyatt Six. So we'll see where they take that from here. We then get the Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton last woman standing match for the final final title being defended. And yeah, I felt like this was a pretty good match. Tiffany Stratton took a ton of offense. Unfortunately for Nia, Tiffany kept answering those 10 counts, and Tiffany even avoided a cash in from Naomi to retain her title here. So while Tiffany did take a lot of offense, I felt like they're just continuing to build her up. And, for her to take all that offense from Nia, 2 annihilators, one with the chair, by the way, and an interference from Naomi. And just for the record, I'm not going to complain about the Money in the Bank interferences because that's just the nature of those. So completely fine with those. But yeah, this is a pretty good match, regardless. And I would say maybe Nia got in too much offense, but if Tiffany is the one getting the win and looking better for taking all that offense, that's completely fine with me. We then get, I would confidently say, the best moment of the night. John Cena, CM Punk, yet again, closing out the show. And I think all you need to remember from here is that Punk returned the stolen gimmick favor. Obviously, last week we saw John Cena do his own version of a pipe bomb. Well, this week we see CM Punk come out as to the Doctor of Thugonomics music. So just like last week, tons of quotable lines here, and you just have to go watch it. You have to go see it. It was great. Obviously, CM Punk decked out in his Chicago gear, and the only thing you guys really need to decide is which one did you like better? Did you like the pipe bomb from Cena or the Dr. Thugonomics gimmick from CM Punk? I think that's really the only true question here. But yeah, this was incredible, and as I mentioned in our predictions video, please don't expect their promo game to be topped with their match at Night of Champions on Saturday, but because that definitely ain't happening, especially with how good of promos we've seen the last few weeks from these guys. But yeah, this was really entertaining and a great way to win SmackDown. KP, few matches here. What were your thoughts on them? And of course, that final segment. What were your takeaways there?
Yeah, loads to talk about in the second half of SmackDown. Starting off with those tag team matches. Andrade and Rey Fenix. Whether this is going to be a permanent thing going forward or not, I'm not entirely sure. They've tagged a couple of times together now, so Latinos seems to be the WWE way of doing things most of the time. But I guess the chemistry's there and it works, so it gets them on TV. So I guess I can't really complain. Beating DIY was quite surprising, obviously being one of the main staples of the SmackDown tag division. I think, maybe that could be a little bit of a surprise and perhaps an upset, but there's nothing to take away from the talent of both Andrade and Rey Fenix. It's just them as a tag team. They're not as, well-versed as, Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano are together. But the match was fun. I enjoyed it, and it added a nice little surprise at the end when they did get that victory. So whether this is going to be another addition to the SmackDown tag team division that's just unbelievably strong and in-depth, and like you said, a draft is 100% needed soon, so that we can sort of split these teams up and separate them between both Raw and SmackDown, because you take one division, this being the SmackDown one, and you compare it to that of Raw's, it is completely worlds apart. So why WWE don't understand and see this as an issue, I don't know. I think tag team wrestling does deserve more respect in WWE specifically, and hopefully in the next draft they can sort of really make a really big sort of push to improve tag team wrestling as a general and to get it more frequently seen on WWE television, because we don't see enough of it, and when we do, it seems to be really, really good. So yeah, just one of those interesting things there is what I had to put out quickly. Going into the Street Profits matchup with the Wyatt Six, this is a negative for me personally. Ever since the Wyatt Six have come back, I think they've negatively impacted the SmackDown tag team division. They have gone from having a roster that has been so competitive against one another to effectively turning them all into allies to take down the Wyatt Six. Yeah, that is a massive, massive thing for the Wyatts, because it shows how big a force they are, how much they're to be threatened, to be taken seriously. And they are a big threat to everybody involved. But at the same time, it sort of just negates everything that was done in the last few months, putting everyone together. And I guess maybe the enemy of the enemy is the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's the whole situation. But I don't know. I feel like it's maybe a step backwards. And I don't think the Wyatt Six are really doing anybody any favors right now. With the DQ finish as well, obviously that's not the Wyatt's fault. That was DIY getting involved and obviously attacking the Profits. But I don't know. I think too many DQ interferences. The Wyatt's not really doing anybody any favors. I'm personally not a fan of where this division has gone recently, and I thought it was incredible months ago, going into WrestleMania, and just off the back of that, we had that amazing ladder match. I thought that was the peak. And then since then, it's been pretty much downhill after Fraxium had their rise, which then obviously got faltered by the Wyatt Six. So, yeah, I think they're going through a little bit of a rut at the moment. And maybe it's just the creativeness that I'm not really particularly seeing or enjoying. Maybe that's a personal thing for myself. But yeah, I'd be interested to see what you actually think of this. Like, generally speaking, where your head is at with what your opinion is on the Wyatts. Because yeah, like, I'm just not really sold at the moment. They came back, they destroyed everyone. There's still been no explanation, realistically speaking. There's been something brief, but we still don't have a solid answer to it. And I don't know. I'm just not feeling it, to be perfectly honest. But moving on to something much, much better, we had the women's last man standing match, which was an absolute barn burner. It was incredible between both Tiffany and Nia. My only slight criticism, and very much like you said, Nia got in a lot of offense here. And I think when she hit that second annihilator onto Tiffany Stratton with the chair obviously on the torso of Tiff, I think, you know, her kicking out, well, not kicking out, but getting up to her feet at the count of 9, maybe did a little bit discredit to Nia's annihilator, I thought perhaps. But besides that, the match was insane. There were some really good spots. It was brutal. It was just from start to finish. It was like, right, we're not wrestling here. We're fighting. And we're gonna beat the ever living daylights out of one another, and that's what they did from the very opening bell to the end bell. Even with the Naomi distraction, you know, in the middle, using the briefcase, I thought that was quite a nice throwback. It was Tiffany beating Nia with the briefcase once again. So we obviously had that with the cash in, and now we've obviously got Naomi trying to get involved. Obviously she was dealt with, but the contract was still in the ring. Tiffany used it. Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was a really nice sort of like a throwback to to when Tiffany was Miss Money in the Bank and how she cashed in on Nia. So yeah, it was almost as if like she had like a little look at the contract after the matchup, and she sort of looked at it and said, you know, like, good to see you again, sort of thing. So yeah, it was a pretty cool moment. That I don't know if anybody else really noticed it, but yeah, I thought that like that stood out for myself pretty much. But yeah, the match was top tier. It was quality, and not one "This is awesome" chant from the crowd. I thought that was a little bit of a disappointment. But yeah, top-notch stuff from both women, and they left it all on the line here. It was fantastic. Tiffany winning was the right call, by the way. Just want to add that in there. Yeah, going into obviously SummerSlam now to face, you know, possibly whoever. Naomi's lurking around. Yeah, it's an interesting scene. I'm liking it. And speaking of scenes, we had Cena in the last sort of segment of SmackDown, and he would obviously, you know, be talking about CM Punk, calling him a loser, and, you know, saying that he's trapped, has no other options left. But when Thugonomics hit, I was like, excuse me? Didn't really see this coming whatsoever. Punk said, like, earlier in the day on the kickoff show, for those who may or may not have watched it, that something was going to happen tonight. It's going to be something fun, something you wouldn't expect, but you couldn't say anything else. And that sort of like set me on a little bit of a trip. I didn't know what to expect, but I did not expect this at all. This was quite something. But it was a pretty funny segment. It wasn't like top quality in my opinion, but I think that was how it was meant to be. It was meant to be sort of Punk just, you know, taking the mick out of an old Cena gimmick. You know, getting up in his face. There were a few bars in there. I thought that he hit the ground running with a couple of lines. But yeah, I we're very much interested in it. I think the conversation and the interactions these two have had in the past couple of weeks, though, with the pipe bomb, with the Punk life, yeah, I think they've been great entertainment, and obviously that's a huge part of what we're talking about here. So yeah, I was a big fan of the segment. I liked it, and I love the fact that it was sort of like Punk's way of just getting in the face of Cena and ripping him down piece by piece. But yeah, building up to their matchup at Night of Champions for the WWE Undisputed Championship, I thought they did a good job of that. And yeah, this feud's been really fun, which has been a pleasure to watch, to be honest. So hopefully the match will be a good one to watch as well. But SmackDown as a whole here, I really liked the show. Like, from start to finish, I thought it was good. Couple of low points, but for the majority, I think it was a pretty nice show. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. I think the positives definitely outweighed the negatives, especially the women's last women standing match and Cena and Punk at the end. Yeah, I think there was some top moments. Obviously, with Julie winning the United States Championship as well, that was a top moment for me too. So yeah, 7.5 out of 10. Looking forward to Night of Champions now, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I think to have a SmackDown where you get 2 out of 3, well, first of all, that you get 3 title matches obviously is something in and of itself, but then to have 2 of those actually go on to be good matches, I think, that's something as well. In terms of the Wyatt Six, yeah, we hit on this I think a couple times already, but it feels like just them the way they came in to take down what had been built for better part of a year felt like that was a step potentially a very slippery slope, if you will, in the wrong direction. And I think the Wyatt Six themselves is just a very challenging, confusing team to book because you're battling that. Do how often do we book them to keep that kind of nostalgic vibe? I think that they are going for to pay tribute, and so it's hard. I personally was a fan of them not doing it, keeping them away, letting them do their own thing. But they're here now, so yeah, I don't know. I think they're definitely a better fit for Raw. I will say that. So maybe that would be an idea for the draft as well. But yeah, SmackDown obviously doesn't need any more teams, so we'll see how they handle that. And then yeah, Nia Jax Annihilator has been booked really strong. So yeah, for Tiffany to I think it's just more to me. I didn't feel like it was more of a downside to Nia, but more of an upside to Tiffany, who is building quite a reign here. I feel like personally, um, and so yeah, potentially in jeopardy depending on the winners of Queen of the Ring finals. So yeah, overall, I thought this was a really good episode of SmackDown. Gave this one 8.5 out of 10. Again, I'm a bit disappointed that we're moving down to the 2 hours, but as long as we can focus more on the wrestling and less on the recaps and or repeated segments, we can make the 2 hours work. Even Raw is not 2 hours. I don't know if they mean a strict tight 2 hours or if they mean less than 3 hours. So regardless, if they can better utilize their time, WWE, then yeah, we'll wait and see how those Smackdowns then proceed. But yeah, lots to go over as we always do with these SmackDown. The only positive side is you will have to listen to us talk a bit less on these SmackDown recaps because they always do tend to be on the long side due to how much information and how much things are happening on each show. But yeah, with that, this has been the push with Nick and KP, and we will be back shortly for the Night of Champions recap and discussions. But until next time, we'll see you then. Take care.